Hello and welcome back to the U Up Podcast. I'm Jordana Abraham.
And I am Jared Freed. It is so good to be back here with you, Jordana. How are you? What's going on? How you been?
I moved back into my house.
Back into the house. How does it feel? Does it feel new? Are you happy with what they've done?
It looks great. It's coming along. There's still like a lot to do, a lot of decisions, a lot of
I kind of had that feeling that it was like you're moving back in, but this is like you're allowed to move back in. It's not like it's done.
Right. We don't have like a kitchen, so we're like taking out every night.
No kitchen
yet. They're like it's almost done. So but it's like maybe a couple weeks of no kitchen.
Is that judgy of me to say no kitchen? Like,
I mean,
I guess it is, right?
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's you don't think about all the things you use in the kitchen until you don't have one.
Right.
You're like, where's my microwave?
Right. We want to like use the sink. I'm like, it's like when you ever brush your teeth out of the kitchen sink and you're like, what's going on with my life? Like you feel like off. Like have you ever brushed your teeth in a sink that's not a teeth brushing sink?
In a kitchen sink?
I've done it before.
Why?
Like the sink in the bathroom doesn't work, or like someone's in there, so you're like, I'll just use the kitchen sink, and like it just feels off. Like I would assume in the same way that like we have things we need to keep in the kitchen, but like there's no fridge, so you like maybe have like a mini fridge.
We have
somewhere
a fridge,
else.
right? Like garage fridge or something like that.
And you're like, this is
and
I guess where I'm keeping the milk.
And
this
there's
is
like
weird.
Yeah, totally. And there's no like there's a toilet in our bathroom, but the vanities aren't there yet, so we're like using the vanities from a different bathroom, and there's no mirrors anywhere. So
just you and Mike running around naked looking for things.
It's really us. It actually is us just like running around, and there's no like there's no like rugs or anything yet. So he's like, you're just he's like if I wake up earlier, he's like, you're just stomping around, your heavy foot.
I once had a neighbor underneath me complain, and did I bring that note onto this show? This was years ago when I first moved into the apartment that is on our YouTube page. You can go check out the tour. That I got a note under the door that like, hey, the walls are I can hear everything you do up there. And then
that's the scariest thing someone can. I can hear everything you do.
Everything.
Can you imagine what goes through your mind if someone says that?
I will say this. I was going to tell this story. I don't know what this says about me.
Let's hear it.
We did a Halloween episode. We got so much great feedback. Thank you for those that subscribe to YouTube or are watching on YouTube now because they saw the Halloween episode, which was pretty successful for us.
Yeah.
I had a secondary parrot costume. So I wore a parrot costume here.
As you do.
That's what you do. I had a podcast parrot costume and a stage parrot costume. So I dress up every year.
An air and a spare.
That's right. So I go to the Comedy Cellar and I perform at the Comedy Cellar dressed up every year. I've been doing it since I first got in the cellar.
Right.
And when I first got in, I showed up, I remember in a lion's costume and I used to host and people were like, what are you doing?
Even though it was Halloween? You only do this on actual Halloween, right?
Only on Halloween.
Right, okay.
I'm not a big Friday after, Tuesday before. No. On the date.
Yeah.
And the cellar's like kind of a conservative place because people make fun of each other. So like if you're new at the cellar, you don't really go out of line. Like back in the day when I first got in, I didn't get in like early, but like I got in as like it started getting bigger and bigger. Now it's like so many, on a Saturday night, there's like 50 comedians there. So like it used to be there was one table and then the older people there would just make fun of everyone.
Right.
So like if you can't, I would come in a lot, like for me to come in a lion costume,
you're like a kid in like a new school who shows up in a lion costume on and no one dresses up.
Right. What are you doing, loser?
Right.
So they all made fun of me for dressing up. I would dress, and then the crowd also kind of took on the nature of people were there for comedy. They weren't there for wacky stupidness.
This was generally, or this is on this Halloween?
On Halloween, people go to the
on
cellar.
This Halloween.
I think people go to comedy shows on Halloween to get away from the mayhem.
Right.
It's kind of like, hey, that's
well, it's like
there.
So they have something to do and they're not that into Halloween.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Or
like New Year's Eve.
Tourist New Year's Eve.
Right.
It's like just like give me an option that's me sitting and not wandering.
Right.
So I would come on stage as the lion, and people would be like, "What is this?" And I would do a bunch of lion puns, and it never worked. Not one laugh.
Okay.
Now, over the years, I don't like to give myself too much credit, but I would say on this facet, I talked to like a few of the managers. I was like, since I've dressed up, people more and more. Some of the comics are dressing up now. Like, there's a little bit more.
You say you started it.
It's looser than it was.
Okay.
I will say that. And so this year I dress as a parrot. And I go out on stage and and if you go to my YouTube channel, I comment on the U Up YouTube all the time. You can see I put up the set, like the beginning of the parrot set.
Okay.
is on my YouTube. You can watch like the reaction of the crowd to me in a parrot costume, which is stupid and fun.
Did you prefer that costume to the one you wore
I should
here?
have wore that
Yeah.
costume here.
All right. Well,
Even though the walk-in was hilarious, the blowed
it
up,
was great.
it
Yeah.
was good.
Yeah.
I was like upset that the whole episode, like I was just in a bag.
Well, that was the same.
said,
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
I was in the straitjacket. It was hard to. You know,
Right,
it
but
wasn't-
yours was funnier because it was like a straitjacket woman giving advice on dating is like hilarious.
very New York City.
Right. Right. Like I had friends be like, Jordana's costume, unbelievable.
Oh my-
Like very, very happy about it. I got a lot of comments on it.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I was disappointed in myself because you even said, you look like the thing that they, did you say that to me?
Oh, yeah, the Gymboree.
The Gymboree,
Right, yeah,
right.
right.
Which is, you were correct. So I wish I had worn the felt one. So I wore the felt one and I go on stage and I have a great time. And afterwards I like had some drinks and then I got home at like 2:30 in the morning. Like I'm like just a parrot going home. And I ordered food. Let me be open and honest. I think I'm gonna stop
It's about the food.
about the food. I ordered from 2 different delivery.
you didn't.
Yeah, don't say no, you didn't. That's,
Sorry.
I just said
I'm
I have to be open and honest.
I'm sorry, as you do.
Yeah, as
you
people
as you
do on
as you do.
Halloween.
Yes,
Okay, so
Well, is it because one place didn't have? You know, that's
it's because
that's
I'm a
reason,
fucking addict.
No, I
That's
think
why.
that's reason enough to get married because I feel like then you can rationalize it as like, well, she wanted this and I wanted that.
I'd be the most fun guy to get married to if you like to get fucked up and eat afterwards. Like I am the guy.
What was your order?
I don't even. Do you want to hear it?
Yeah,
Do you want to hear
I
like
do.
the actual
From
Halloween
both
order?
places.
Listen, this is
What
off.
do you have like a go-to spot?
I have a spot. The
Okay.
West 4th Deli,
Plug City.
Plug City. They're open like I don't think they close.
Okay.
And they know me. I've had there was an era where there was one delivery guy at this West 4th place that he kept coming to me to the point,
right.
and I gave him tips like in cash one night, and then he just expected cash tips every time, and I was like stuck with him for a while. I have like, okay, here's my seamless order from Halloween night.
Let's hear it.
Okay,
The first one.
the f-
I'm sorry.
this is first.
I'm
Who
trying.
knows what was first? So West 4th Marketplace. That's my like go-to. Okay.
Okay.
So this was November 1st. Okay. Bacon, egg, and cheese on an everything
What
bagel.
time? What time?
2:50 a.m. So I
2:50.
yeah.
50. Okay.
I'm pretty drunk at this point.
Okay.
Okay. 2:50 a.m. Bacon, egg, and cheese, everything bagel.
And the place is open 24 hours.
It's got to
Sorry,
be open
Okay.
24
Sorry,
hours.
go ahead.
Then I also got a bagel and lox with cream cheese on an everything bagel. Okay.
At 3 a.m.?
None of this makes sense. I'm not
Okay.
like sitting here being like, this is what you should eat. I also got a chicken salad sandwich with lettuce, white onion, and fresh jalapeno. I just basically ordered like the worst smelling dump I could ever order. In
Okay.
So that's order one.
One.
So that came right as I got back. Okay. Then I also ordered.
So what point do you order the second one? Are you like?
So
is it
let's see.
after
I don't
you-
even. I mean, at this point,
Okay.
I mean, someone's
I'm saying,
listening.
did you
they're
get
like,
this and you were like, this isn't
no,
exactly
these
what I
were
want? Oh,
ordered in concert.
okay.
These were ordered dually.
Did you have to use 2 different apps?
This is how out of control I am. Yes. Now my Postmates.
Okay.
This is how out of control I am with this nighttime eating shit, especially when I drink. Like when I'm not drinking is what triggers it. And I think that's like there's an addiction specialist probably watching or listening being like, yeah, this is you drink and then you do things you don't like that you do.
Or
Like
it just makes you hungrier. Maybe.
it makes you give in to hunger.
Sure.
So here's my so this was $2.59. So I
10
ordered
minutes late. Okay.
10
so you
minutes
didn't- there's
later
no
I
way
go,
you got the other one before you ordered this.
I basically was like,
What was going through your head?
not just give me more.
Okay.
Scallion pancake,
Oh, so Chinese. What Chinese food place is open this late?
China Dragon Express, which I don't even know where they
Have you
are.
ever gotten them before? You just found them.
It's just give me Chinese food.
Okay.
However it comes. It could be some Chinese guy in the corner that's just like, I got some,
Chinese,
some crumbs
food.
in my pocket.
Okay.
Spring rolls and a General Tso's chicken.
Wow.
This is an order. I will say I didn't eat it all. Okay.
Okay.
To give myself some
That's
credit.
fair.
The Chinese food got eaten more nights later. It was in the fridge the next morning. Okay, so
Okay.
this is all to say. The only reason I bring this up, I wasn't here to embarrass myself for no reason. Will, our new producer, just looked and goes, This is what I'm in for. So I go get the food, the first round of food, and then I wait for it outside. Then I go home into my place and I start eating.
Why'd you wait for it outside?
Well, because I like got home and like the West 4th place is pretty close. So I was like waiting for the guy to come. So I'm like on the step just dressed as a parrot.
It's okay.
So there's a parrot just on the stoop.
Okay, I dressed as a parrot on the stoop, waiting for the food that you
waiting
ordered.
for the food that I
Would he
ordered.
not come up?
It's my building after midnight, no doorman.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So this is like the problem with the 250. So then
That's
I go
tough,
back. I
yeah.
go back to my
You
apartment.
think that would be a deterrent?
To me not ordering?
Yeah.
No, that's why I don't have a microwave. That's my deterrent to not eating. This can't get in my way.
A microwave?
Not having a microwave is like the reason I don't have one is so that I won't late night eat.
Really?
Because I'll make popcorn just over and over again. Like
Popcorn's like a healthy snack, isn't it?
not when you have 7 bags of popcorn. I just ordered from 2 different places.
It sounds healthier than that.
Right.
But anyway,
well, yeah,
go on.
listen,
Okay,
of all,
whatever.
yeah, so is an apple. It's
Sure.
healthier than Chinese food.
All right, go on.
So I eat that, and then I get like a text, like, your order's here for the Chinese food place. And I'm like, okay. And I go down to get it. This is where things get fuzzy. But I walk out of my apartment, and I get my Chinese food, and I come back up. And this guy and his girlfriend, or maybe it's 2 women, I don't know, they're fucking.
Where?
My apartment.
In your apartment?
No. In the building. And the hallways are so, the walls are so, this is why I brought it up.
I see. Okay.
All you hear in the
can just
hallway
hear
is,
it.
and
Oh, wow.
I, dressed as a parrot, am like looking around. And I'm just like imagining how ridiculous this all looks.
Right.
Like me a parrot holding Chinese food while you hear, in the hallway of my apartment, and me kind of lingering a little too long. Like I'm just like, ooh, someone's fucking like, I'm just like hanging
Right.
for this like sound show that I was
That's
getting.
amazing.
And I
Did
really
you know
was.
did you know which unit it was coming out
Nah,
of?
I didn't like go up to each door and go.
So you could see
listen.
if you see them in the hallway, you
Right.
could give them like a little wink.
Whoever it was had a great Halloween. Good for everyone involved, except I guess for me too. I got my Chinese food.
Halloween Thursday night I think is great.
Nothing
night,
like
yeah.
it. Best night to have it. Friday, you kind of ease in. I mean, it was a long week. And then
People
it was,
did it before. People went out after. It was a lot.
It didn't seem to end. And then in New York, we had the marathon. And I went to watch the football game on Marathon Sunday. And I have to say, marathoners, after they've run a marathon going out, I think that's the worst crowd at a bar.
Right. We were talking about this before. You hate people on their best night out.
It's not their best night out. I don't like when someone's big day.
Big day, yes.
I don't care for...
So what do you say? What do you say to the bride at weddings?
Good for you.
Yeah.
No, it's a wedding is different. To me, it's like a marathon, I'm happy for you. You did a feat. You accomplished a feat. I'm at a bar watching football and you hear just like tables, like, hitting the tables, rumbling. They're like, Jessica! Right. And I'm like, I don't give a fuck about Jessica. Shut the fuck up.
They're very like riled up.
Well, especially the marathoners, people who run marathons are like type A types.
Yeah.
They're like, type A, give to my charity or you're a fucking, asshole. And then it's like, type A person
Well, it's just like
normally
the discipline to train yourself to run 26 miles.
Yeah, I would say the Venn diagram of guy who orders from 2 different places and at 3 a.m. and person who runs a marathon. I mean, there's not a lot in the middle.
I'm with you. I told on my list, on my my Voodoo Heather Graham list, it said no marathon runners. So I am with you, even though I found out Mike ran a half. It was, I got over it. I got over it. It was fine. I found out late enough. But
they're just like a type A personality who never goes out being like, I'm out. Like that type that like I guess it's not as much the person's big day. It's much the profile of a marathon runner.
Do you feel like shamed by them almost?
No, I actually don't. I feel to me they should be shamed.
Okay, they should be jealous
for taking
of you.
something like out of nowhere and turning it into like this wasn't like completing the bar exam. Well,
that's my issue with the marathon. It's like you're running to nowhere. I'm like, if you're gonna be running 26 miles, at least take my package, bring it to the return it for me on like when you get to the Upper East Side.
Get some shit done.
Right? It just feels like, to me, it's like, where are you going? You're going nowhere for why? Just run to run?
Well, this is why the charities kind of got involved. It gave reason to it, and now we're the shitheads because like what they do is they go, I guess you don't want to raise money for whatever it is. So it's like, this is the problem with society these days. Like if it's marathon people, well, you attach this like social thing that we know you're not doing it for this, like the idea that like, again, there are people that run marathons. They do it every year and they have this cause and they raise lots of money. And like, that's very nice. It's a net positive.
I'm into the people who were like really fucking good at it. Like
that is a feat. Yeah.
The top 10%.
No, when when they finish, when you see like the leaders finish,
when you see what they look like, you're like,
my God.
Oh, like this is.
I wonder what they think of the not because I don't think anyone like. What do they think of me? Yeah. What do they think of like the middle of the pack people?
Right.
Is like, there like the guy dressed as a banana who's like, look at me.
Is there like a clique of like the top people that kind of judge the people who are just doing it to like say they did it?
Right. And if you like, I've ran 17 marathons, and then like the top people are like, okay, yeah, 17, but like, let's add the hours together it took.
Right.
Like it's like, I don't know. I'm a hater. I guess I'm a hater.
Well, that's why we're here.
Right.
Right. That's who we are.
I'm realistic. I was just at the bar watching the Bears game, and I'm like, the energy when there was just so much.
Yeah, I don't watch the marathon. People like watching. I'm like, I don't understand.
We used to go growing up.
Appeal.
Yeah. Well, the Boston Marathon was like a day. It's on Patriots Day or whatever. It's a holiday that's only in Massachusetts.
Right.
So there was a thing with that. Yeah, Heartbreak Hill. My dad ran it twice. He's one of these.
Oh, really? Yeah. Wow. I can't believe it. And you guys still talk?
Who? It's election day, not today.
That's true. We're not.
We're gonna take a day off from each other.
Oh wow.
So that's what's going on.
Okay.
Want to jump right in? What are we talking about today?
Today,
I actually had a lot of opinions about what we're talking about today. Not normal for me.
You
to have an opinion? No
thoughts.
No thoughts. No opinion. If you are a non-marathon runner living in St. Louis, I'm coming this weekend.
Ooh.
St. Louis. I've also added Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Back to the scene of the wedding.
Scene of the wedding.
Yeah,
couldn't afford the hotel I stayed at.
Okay.
Had to switch to a lower hotel.
This time of year? Okay.
Too expensive, even though I love the St. Louis Ritz. I had to make an old switcheroo. $700 a night. What in St. Louis costs $700 a night?
If it was New York City, that would be cheap.
Anywhere else. Yeah. I sat there. I'm like, who do you think
Hotels
you are?
Hotels are just out of control.
Out of control.
Don't understand. Big hotel. We need to take them down.
Take them down. So I'm in St. Louis this weekend, not at the St. Louis Ritz. I will be in Tulsa. I've never been to Tulsa, Oklahoma. I'm excited. And then
what is that? Are they known for?
I don't even. What's Tulsa known for?
Have you been to Oklahoma in general?
I've been to Oklahoma City.
Okay.
Which was Oklahoma City. I kind of thought was like the next Nashville, like the next bachelorette town. There's music. They got the honky tonk.
That would be cool.
Yeah, I think that's like if you want to be at the front again. If you don't want to spend $700 a night, you and some ladies.
Now that you said that, it's going to be $700 a night to be at
the Oklahoma City Tourism Board should pay me some dough. What goes on in Tulsa? Nothing. Literally nothing came up. Tulsa is just a big middle finger. Go fuck yourself. Nothing. Yeah. Big tumbleweed comes across the screen.
Well, you'll find out. Ask
I will
them
find
when
out.
You're there. Ask them.
We will ask them.
What do you guys
do here?
What are you known for? Every city's got a little thing they're known for.
If you didn't think I was a douche with my marathon rant, me walking to Tulsa with big sunglasses on and a New York City t-shirt. What do you guys do here?
Tell me the best thing about. I mean, I think every city has like some sort of claim to fame.
Oh, they all got things.
You would imagine.
Absolutely. That's why like sometimes you go to a city, like I talk a lot of shit. We talk a lot of shit. Yeah. But like when I go somewhere, people are like, it's not like New York. I'm like, yeah, that's why you're not New York. Like, what do you do?
That's the point. Yeah.
You show me your shit.
Yeah.
And then Dania Beach. I've added Portland, Oregon, Rochester, Phoenix. Coming to Phoenix in the winter. Australia, I'm trying to get the ticket link out there. It's coming.
I'm so excited for you.
Tarrytown. We have a special. We're taping a special.
I'm excited for me too.
Very excited for us.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
Tarrytown's happening December 7th. We got 2 shows.
I'm so excited. I'm excited for everyone to be able to see the special.
I'm excited
because
too.
It's so good.
Thank you.
And I haven't seen it since when did I come to see it?
Last spring.
Yeah. So
it's improved, I think. But
I mean, it was so good then, even if it wasn't improved. I don't even know how much it could improve.
It's I appreciate that. Yeah, no, it's ready to go. It's ready. I have to work on a new hour so that my parents won't yell at me when I go to Dania Beach.
When are you going to Dania Beach?
Like in 3 weeks, my mom's
Okay.
like, "You got
For
some new
Thanksgiving?
material?" Yeah,
Okay.
I'm doing, and I'm like, I'm
Your
trying.
favorite holiday coming up?
The best.
So
What are you doing Thanksgiving?
probably go to Mike's parents.
Yeah.
Probably do that. His parents are into all the
They make
holidays.
everything. They do
Oh yeah,
big
like,
time.
Like I've never seen before.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah, it's very nice. You go there, you're I mean, we had this whole conversation on oversharing about like hosting. They're like good at it. They know. They make it look easy.
I gotta say, people who are good hosts,
Yeah.
that is a talent, that is a skill, that is a patience.
Comes from your family though, I think too. Like people just know what to do. You know?
Well, my mom loves to host, but then loves to make everyone feel as uncomfortable as possible while she hosts.
Yeah. We talked
So
about
it's like,
this,
so it's like a bad combo.
Yeah, well, it's funny when we were talking about Christmas and like now that our house is like being finished up, I don't think we're gonna be ready by then. But I was like, well, maybe one year we'll host Christmas, and I'm like, we could just get it like catered, because that's like how my family would do any event. And he's like, what are you talking about? Like if we did that, that's all anyone would talk about.
About the talk of the town.
It would be like the talk if everyone in his family, like if we didn't cook the food ourselves,
right? They would talk shit about you.
Yeah,
that was his claim.
He's like, that's not how we do Christmas. We don't.
We could put it in tins and act like.
Well, that's what I said.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, if not, well, I hope you have a great time cooking for 20 people.
Better start getting on YouTube, learning how to make a turkey.
Seriously.
Yeah. No, I don't know. Do you have dreams of was the house when you bought it? Were you like,
oh yeah,
this is for hosting?
Totally.
Okay.
Like, I mean, it's
because some people go get people out of my fucking house.
No, we definitely want to host. I mean, I have a very big family, so I'm like excited to have people stay and do that whole thing. I feel like I have to learn the art of hosting. I just started Martha.
So what did you think of Martha Stewart?
I haven't finished it. I'm like one episode. I'm like,
how many episodes is it?
I'm not sure. Does anyone know? Oh, it's just a movie? Oh, well, then I'm like, I guess I'm in the. I thought I just hadn't finished the first episode, so then I guess I'm a decent amount in. She's like crazy.
Yeah, no, I think like,
but it's very entertaining.
Yeah, I think people kind of miss the boat on her. Like, it's funny. That's like she's a beautiful woman.
Right. She keeps saying she's a beautiful woman.
Right. She was a model.
I know, but she calls herself. She's
like a ruthless business person.
Most beautiful people do. What I respect about it, it's almost like I think she's like crazy and like funny and so weird, but like she just doesn't do things that most people would do. Like she refers to herself as a beautiful woman several times throughout. Right. And I'm only probably like 30 minutes in.
Well, and that's like the most memorable part is like this woman keeps calling herself beautiful.
I'll tell you that too much. I haven't watched it.
Not yet.
So she did model, and she's she keeps referring to herself as a beautiful woman, and then she goes on her honeymoon. Well, she talks about she marries her first husband, and she tells her father she like hates her father, and she tells her father she's getting married. She said, my father slapped me when I said I was getting married to this, and she basically was like, this guy had like a really nice car, and we started hanging out, and he went to Yale, and so and then he asked me to marry him, and I married him. And I went home and I told my father, and he slapped me, and her dad goes, "You're not marrying a Jew." And it just kind of like comes out of nowhere.
Right.
So there's like, it starts with that. And then she talks about, so she marries the guy. She's like, he was great. He was so different from my father. My father was so mean, blah, blah, blah. And then she tells this story so casually. And this is like the last thing I saw before I was like so tired I had to go to bed. But it's very good. I need to finish it. She says, so she's on her honeymoon. They're on this like extensive European vacation. And she talks about how they're having such a great time. She like, this is where she like sees like all the ways the cooking and, you know, the way things are put together in Europe. And like, she's so fascinated by it. And then she's like, we're in Italy and I wanted to see the Duomo. And my new husband didn't really like care about seeing the Duomo. So I went myself. And then I was like watching, like, it was so beautiful. I was so moved. And there was this guy there, and I was like just watching the ceiling, and we were watching next to each other, and I was a very beautiful woman. And he like, and then we shared this like very passionate kiss. And then
on our honeymoon.
Yes. And then like you hear like the producer saying to her, like, so like, did you think that was like wrong? Like, she was like, it was, she goes, it wasn't wrong. It wasn't like a, and he's like, well, don't you think it's like infidelity? And he's like, do you think it was wrong or infidelity? And she goes, I don't really think it was either. She goes, it was just a very moving moment. I'm like, you could have just like not even told the story.
Right.
Like, what is that?
Well, you
Like, it
she
doesn't
obviously
even, that's what I'm
she
saying.
believes it. That's why she's telling the
That's
story.
what
She
I'm
feels
saying.
no remorse.
She's such an interesting character. She also, it feels like she gives like no fucks, which is kind of interesting.
When you go to jail, you don't just go to jail. Like, they don't just
Right.
put people in jail. Like, you know, like it takes a lot for that to happen to
Especially someone with her amount of
right, a
wealth.
billionaire, to put
Yeah.
them in jail. You have to really, like, I think we kind of just go, oh, she got screwed. Like, I think,
Right.
like,
She did some tax things that
right.
weren't totally kosher.
and we
yeah.
kind of like just like brush over it. I think, like, you know, I think of this thing, Q ratings. Like, it's like the rating of like how people feel about someone.
Mhm.
High Q ratings, likability, like they're just well liked by the public for no
Right.
reason.
Yeah.
I think with her, we just have this like assumption that like she's the
sweet-
mother,
A sweet homemaker.
right?
Whatever.
And then we see her with Snoop, and you go, "Oh, that's so funny," but it's like not funny. It's like
it's actually like
that's
a real,
like a real relationship. That's not like something they just like try to like, you know. And you go, "Well, how do they meet?" And you go, you know, it's not like a bit, you know,
Right.
like where, and to a lot of people, maybe not everyone now, but like in the beginning, they're like, well, look at this mashup, you know,
Right.
like, and
it
it's
feels
like,
so random, but it's I totally agree with you.
You know?
Especially after watching this, you're like, it's actually not that random at all.
no, these
Like,
are
it
two
makes
billionaires
sense.
who get along about how much money they make, you know,
Right.
pimping
have some
out every fucking
questionable-
product.
Who
Yeah.
have some questionable points of view. It's I'm excited to watch the rest of it.
Oh, now I'm in. You just sold me on.
You should watch-
Sheets
just-
on Our Honeymoon. I'm like,
but like so casually. It's just like, you know what I mean? There's nothing like
Right.
cheesy about it. She's very much like, again, like
but that's her genius. Like, everything's classy. Everything's Martha Stewart living, Martha Stewart home.
yeah,
Martha
she feels
Stewart,
like it
make
feels
out
like
with a
they-
man on your honeymoon.
It feels like they gave someone's like kind of inappropriate mom like a whole documentary and like didn't edit out the like questionable thing she said.
I think when you go to jail, like also all bets are off. Like,
maybe,
who the
yeah.
fuck cares?
Well, here's the other thing. It's like she's a billionaire. She's already been to jail. She probably doesn't give a shit. She's
Right.
not like doing how much more is left in her career. What is she? in
Who's
her
she
70s?
answering to?
No one gives a shit less than imagine your grandma who doesn't give a shit but give her $1 billion
Oh my God.
and like the street cred.
83. And she looks like that. She's
She
on
looks
the
pretty good.
cover.
Yeah.
She was on the cover of Sports Illustrated swimsuit like last year.
Yeah. That's crazy.
80 billionaire and coveted sexually by all ages. It's a great way to live.
Now you know
live.
why she's so blunt, I guess, and honest.
All right, let's get to the show. You
All
ready?
right, let's do it.
What are we talking about today?
All right, I'll get into our first email.
Let's do it.
J&J, feathers and much love from Philly. I'm writing to you with a very important question I think could help me and maybe others. This is a continuation of a conversation that I had with my coworker the other day. We were talking about my dating woes. He's married, so I often seek advice from him, and how the guy I used to date struggled so much with basic communication. Hence why we are no longer together. We had been together for 6 months, and he had the hardest time with things like letting me know when he gets home safely from work, when he's about to go out, or where he was planning to go. I found myself having to ask so many times about his whereabouts or plans that it made me feel like a control freak.
The word whereabouts makes someone sound like they're just
Crazy
like
that-
disappeared and
Yeah.
like it's just like I just need to know about your whereabouts.
Well, it
you
makes
know?
her sound a little stalkery.
A
I
little bit,
think,
but
yeah.
also like him just like disappear. Like, it makes it sound like he's like on the run.
Yes, and whereabouts to me gives the connotation of like they're like your child to keep tabs on or something. Like, what are your
Right,
send
I
me
need
your
to-
ETA.
send me-
yeah.
Put it on.
Landed. For example, he will say he's going to do something that maybe takes an hour or so to do, like go to the gym, and 5 to 6 hours will go by. I will check in and he will say he decided to do something completely different, like go visit with a friend or go shopping, and never thought to let me know. My coworker said he'd seen this with some of his friends and said that sometimes guys who have been out of relationships a long time or haven't dated struggle to get out of the single mindset. They're used to not having to update someone on their whereabouts or what they are up to, so they don't think to do it. While I think that's totally valid, how much time are you supposed to allow for someone to adjust to being in a relationship? Also, when is it adjusting versus lack of interest or caring? I know some people aren't as chatty or good at texting, And I think that this is maybe more about transparency and trust. What do you think? Thank you both. Sincerely, a betch that wants to know what the F is up.
I like this email because now the single mindset. What do you think of that? I guess she goes to her married friend, and this guy is saying that some men are stuck in the single mindset, so that's why they're not really doing the relationship things that maybe you want them to do, is kind of what he's saying to her.
I think her examples don't make him seem that bad. I don't know if it's necessarily a single mindset and more like a communication style. Like, I don't think she has to break him into a relationship. Like, I am not asking Mike to constantly text me to let me know he gets home safely from, even when we were dating, let me know you got home safely from work. Like, I wouldn't want to feel like I had to text someone every day to let them know I got home safely from work. That's like kind of annoying.
Right. I think it's interesting you say that, because I'm on, if I was to choose a side, I guess I'm choosing her side, but I don't think she's like, I would ask her more questions, but I think her perspective's off.
Right.
Like this idea of like how many times, I can't tell you a number. Like what you're saying, you're like, I'm not checking in once a day with like Mike to see where he is and make sure, but you also feel loved by Mike. So I think like a big part of this is like, I think when you're in the beginning and you're just not hearing anything from someone, you feel like you're checking in with them. And if you never got in touch with them, they might never get in touch with you at all.
Right. Maybe that's the fear.
Right.
Yeah.
And like, I think, or the fear are actually like, that's your feeling. Like she asked a question in a very specific way. Like she
says to adjust to being in a to her. Is it that, I guess my question is it that to her, this is what a relationship is? Or is it that she doesn't feel secure in the relationship?
Right. And I think she makes it too much about him and not about herself. Like, it's okay to be like, I want someone to like, I feel like I haven't heard from you. Like, I think that's okay to say to someone that you're dating. Like, the idea, I think the single mindset is a very convenient excuse.
Right.
And I'm saying that as someone who is single and out there and texting with, women that I'm pursuing or being pursued by.
Are you telling them all that you got home safe from work?
I'm not, no. Yeah, I was like, if I get into specifics, someone could say, well, you don't text them every time you get home or every night of the week. And I'm like, yeah, I don't, but do I want to see them again? Do they feel good with our interactions enough to want to go out with me again? Like, I think she's living too much in the land of what should he be doing versus like, do I not feel good in this thing? Like,
right. Do I feel like this person likes me? Right.
And if you don't feel liked or loved or cared for, that's the answer to the question. Like, to me, like, I don't know. Like, I've not texted people and been like, man, and thought to myself, man, I'm not texting them. And I've forgotten about them. So I must not care.
If they asked you, especially.
If they asked me, I would give an excuse to make it sound like I care more than I do.
If you were dating someone 4 months and they said, text me when you get home from work so I know that you're safe. Okay?
Sure.
Like,
if I like them enough, I would do it.
You would do it, right.
But that's kind of the point, the perspective shift that I think this email doesn't really address is like, are we negotiating this? Am I letting this person know, like, hey, I haven't heard from you. I didn't even know you got home. And are they, like, you can let someone know that you feel unloved by their communication style, and they either, like, change or they don't.
Right.
And then you have to say, well, I think it's, like, one of those things of, like, they want a mathematical answer to this very not math problem. Like,
like how long, like what is the adjustment period timeline?
Right.
Yeah.
If they're not responding more, it's like, I think from the beginning you can go, I feel let down by, not knowing when you got home. And now they can say to you, well, I got home. We're 3 dates in, like that's not how I talk to people I'm 3 dates in with.
Right.
This is kind of the breaks, kid. Or they give you kind of a soft answer. Like, I'm more likely personally to give the answer that makes everyone feel comfortable.
Which would be what?
If someone was like 4 months in with me, hey, I hadn't heard from you when you got home. Oh, I'm so sorry. I got back. It was late. I'll like give an excuse rather than. rather than
But
address it as like, hey, that's not what I do.
is it? But
I wish
here's
I
the-
was more the I don't do that guy.
Would it be more that's not what I do, or in your mind, like you were saying before, like I didn't really want to text you when I
Well, that's something I
guess
have
that's
to deal with.
right.
You know what I mean? Like that's something like I'm not going to, and we talk about like men ending things before they discuss it or work on it.
Mhm.
This kind of goes into that to me.
Right.
Like, hey, you didn't text me when you got home. And I'm like, then I go back to my corner. I go, why don't I text them when I got home?
right.
And then I go, well, maybe I don't really, maybe this is a person doesn't get me excited enough. This match isn't getting me excited enough if I'm to say it more nicely. But if I'm to say, be more pointed, well, maybe this person doesn't get me excited enough to want to text them when I get home and I'm not really excited about this thing. And maybe that's kind of a sign in itself for me to end this.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. And maybe he feels a little smothered by her. I don't think that that's like, if she's like, you said you went to the gym, you didn't like, you were gone for many hours and you didn't tell me where you went after. Like, I don't know how long they were dating at the point that she was saying that, but I could also see someone saying like, that doesn't feel like I'm dating an independent person who like has got their own thing going on. If they need to know exactly when I left the gym and where I went after, like, I don't think I would. I think if I went to the gym and then I would stop by a friend's house and then I got like the third degree about that early in dating, I would be like, you got to get your own life a little bit.
Right. I'm with you specifically.
Yeah.
Like if I agree with you, like I'm like, hey, like if it's Monday, we got together Saturday, we had a nice date and a nice time, and then they're like, wait, what happened to the gym on Mondays at 12? You usually go on Mondays at noon, and now you're not, and you went to a friend's house. What happened there? I would say, like, that's a lot, but I also don't think they're 100% wrong.
Okay.
Like,
you're saying it is a sign of something bigger that they might not be that interested.
right, but yeah, and also, but again, that perspective is never going to get you anywhere, I don't think. Like, I think, like, hey, I feel like, I think it might even make sense more to the emailer if they were like, say it out loud to themselves. Hey, I felt really unloved that you didn't tell me that you went to your friend's house on Monday as opposed to the gym. When you say it out loud, you go, oh, that's a little weird that I would need that.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
like maybe it's a good exercise because like.
Yeah, because reading it out loud, I'm feeling like
it's a little much.
It's a little much. Yeah.
Right. But, if you had plans for that night.
Yeah, if it affected something real, that's why I think where she would have more of a leg to stand on, more of like evidence based. Like, you told like I was waiting on your response to the text to find out like what the plan was for that night because I had to do my own schedule thing, and like you didn't answer, and you said you were at the gym, but it was like hours later, and so that I think is like totally valid. But this like. The seeming like the need for updates, for constant updates about whereabouts with like no reasoning, and maybe that's just the kind of relationship I'm on, so I'm judging it against that. Where I'm not like hyper focused on Mike's whereabouts at all times.
Right.
I just think,
but that's you feel loved. I think this person. Right. I would be surprised if they had another date in the calendar. Like this usually comes from right this feeling of like they haven't texted in a while, their plans keep changing.
Right. If you felt in other ways, you wouldn't need that.
Right. I don't think so. That's why the perspective of like how many times should a person be texting? Like I don't know, because what usually happens in this scenario is if you want to be right, you'll be right. Like if you want this guy to be a dickhead at some point, you're gonna be right.
Right.
And I should have known when you changed your plans from going to the gym to playing Xbox. I should have been on this one. It's like, no, you shouldn't have been on this one. You should have let someone know that you feel for them maybe more than you're feeling loved by them.
Right. Which is a more vulnerable thing to say.
Totally. If I was this person, I wouldn't write to them like, hey, I thought you were going to the gym. Because what it turns into, I thought you were going to the gym. It turns into you being this investigator that's like questioning, which
is what she sounds
the suspect.
Like when she reads it out loud.
Totally.
Right? Yeah.
And instead of like, hey, I felt let down that I didn't hear from you at all today.
Right.
What's the day been? How you been? And when are we going out again? Like,
yeah,
that's vulnerable and action based.
Right. And that's what her married coworker is not going to tell her, because it's like tougher to say.
Totally. And her married coworker is going to go, it feels like her married coworker's punting.
Right.
To be like, that's the single mindset. Like, I don't know.
That's what you would say to make someone feel better.
Right. And that's what you say to someone who's like in a relationship with someone. Like, not even if they were in a relationship and you were like, and then you like moved in together and then he like the single mindset to me is not what this guy's explaining. It's not like, oh, he forgets to
Because
text
they're
me
not in a relationship yet.
Right. They're not in a relationship yet. If you were in a relationship and then the guy's like leaving the seat up, like that's a more of a single mindset than, hey, this guy isn't really texting me when he goes to the gym as opposed to like going to work or something. I don't know. It's almost like she's expecting too much from a guy she's dating she's expecting too much assurance from a guy she's dating. And you're never going to get that.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's take a quick break, and then we got a great awkward encounter after this. Really good one.
Let's do it. Let's do an awkward encounter.
Awkward encounter. We love the awkward encounter. Send them in uup@betches.com. uup@betches.com.
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. Let's do an awkward encounter. I have a very awkward encounter to share that happened in 2015 when I, female, was 22, living in New York City and was very casually seeing a 26-year-old guy. One Thursday night, I was going out with my coworkers to Riff Raff. Do you remember Riff Raff?
Oh, yeah.
I remember Riff Raff.
I got the face paint. I've been there.
That was the face paint. She writes, which was a nightclub in NYC that you might remember. As soon as you walked in the club, they would paint. They would put red, black, and white face paint on you, in kind of a tribal pattern. Looking back at photos from this place, it just looks like a horrible cultural appropriation, and that's maybe part of the reason it got shut down. Do you have pictures from there?
I definitely have pictures of myself.
I remember seeing the pictures.
On there, yeah. 22, that was like the spot.
Right. I don't remember it looking cultural in any way.
Same. I thought it was just like literal, just colors.
Right. It was no different to me than going to like Burning Man and putting glitter on yourself. It kind of looked more like nightclub culture.
I didn't think it was offensive at the time. At the time, anyway.
I just love how far away we've gotten with the whole cancel culture thing. That you think a successful nightclub was shut it down. They shut it down for face painting people.
They shut it down.
They didn't make money.
It used to be trendy. And then it ran its course.
The answer to all your questions is money. Like this is making me feel weird. Shut it down. John Taffer comes in.
It's very 2024.
Right.
Yes.
Anyways, this guy told me to come over to his apartment after the club and that his doorman would give me the key when I walked in. I responded saying I wasn't sure if I should since I was covered in face paint and didn't want to stain his pillowcase. Being the resourceful 22-year-old that I was, I just went to the bathroom before leaving and washed it off, and the problem was solved. Wow. I don't know if I can come over right now. I like this girl.
Look at her, so creative.
Around 4 a.m., I showed up to his building and asked the doorman for the key to his apartment. It was honestly kind of crazy that the doorman did, in fact, give me the key. I had only ever been there once before, so the doorman definitely did not know me. Looking back, maybe this was a thing the guy did often, so he just told his doorman to let in any girls asking for his key. I'm going to say that's a no.
You think no? Why would the doorman just give her the key?
I think he probably thought she was someone's wife.
Right. Like, she probably didn't look menacing.
No, it's 22-year-old chick who was at Riff Raff earlier in the night. It's 4 a.m. I think like most of these doormen are like, you know, as not to sound too icky, but they're like team dude. Like,
right.
Like how many doormen have you, like, everyone talks about their doorman in New York City, like, oh, coming home late, huh? Like, kind of like heckling them.
Yeah.
It's like a thing.
Right. You tell them your life story.
Right.
Yeah.
So to say that this doorman was like, had a deal with the guy. I don't think there was that thought out.
He has girls coming over all the time.
It is weird to get. It
is weird. They just met that night. It is weird to like.
No, they had met before. She'd been over to the place.
Oh, right. She'd already been there. It is a little weird to say like just come over. I guess if she'd been there before, maybe not.
It's weird.
If she's been there before, I guess like you could say, come back. Like.
Oh, I agree with her that it's weird that the doorman just threw the keys.
Right.
Like the doorman didn't call up.
Yeah.
But you do find like 1 out of every 4 doormen are like excited to see a woman come there for a guy that they might, you know, like.
Right. They're just assuming this is going to be fine.
Right. I went upstairs, and as soon as I walked into his studio apartment, where the front door was very close to the bed where he was asleep at the time, it became clear he didn't think I was coming and instead thought I was an intruder. He started screaming at me, "Get the fuck out of my apartment." It was pitch black, and we couldn't see one another, so I responded, "It's just me. You told me to come over." Once he calmed down, the next thing I heard was a girl sit up in his bed and go, "Hi, I'm Gwen." Weird response by "Hi, I'm Gwen."
Right. I mean, it is disarming though.
Yeah, it might have helped the situation, calm things down. All I could
She wouldn't say like, "Who the fuck are you?"
Right. I run this studio apartment.
That's what I'm saying. It is a better look for him that she
"Hi, I'm Gwen."
kindly introduced herself.
"It's just me. You told me to come over." "Hi, I'm Gwen. I'm the one sucking this guy's dick." All I could say was, "Jesus," and I ran out of the apartment back downstairs. I gave the key back to the doorman and said, "Got what I needed," and then went home.
As you would.
Then the guy then proceeded to call and text me 1,000,000 times explaining that I scared him. He thought I wasn't showing up because of the face paint and that the girl was his platonic best friend who was going through a breakup and wanted to sleep over because she needed his support. He even sent me her phone number so that I could text her and corroborate this, which I obviously never did. He continued to hit me up for months to come until I finally blocked him. Hope you get a laugh from this because it was traumatic at the time, but I find it hysterical now. Can't wait to hear what you guys think. Signed, Keep the Riffraff Out of My Apartment.
This was a very funny story. Love it.
Very funny, very New York, very hookup culture, very...
Part of me like kind of believes him.
Right. I don't
Maybe?
understand the reason for giving the number of unless it was a different woman who was going to like play the part of Gwen.
Right. I just feel like she wouldn't be so chill with like a woman showing up to the apartment if it was someone. Why would he give her number?
Right. Well,
but although it is like, why would your platonic female friend come sleep in your studio apartment in your bed next to you?
there's a liar's version of this, and then there's like a really sweet version of this.
Right.
The liar's version is you gave a number to another girl that you explained, hey, I'm trying to hook up with this chick. Can you say that you're Gwen and that everything was cool?
Oh,
and
yeah.
like
I didn't
tell
even
the
think
story.
of that.
That's the liar's
What a
version.
rookie mistake.
The sweet version is
it's true.
It's true. He liked this girl, thinking like maybe she could be. I felt like there was a match, and I was kind of like still feeling it out. I've seen the error of my ways. I was kind of, I kind of still wanted to see what this could have been. Please talk to my friend who can corroborate that. Yeah, to Gwen, will talk to you and let you know that it's the story.
Well, I just don't see why he would care so much as to like try to send her the number if he didn't like her.
Right. That's
right.
Right. What's the? It's a long game to pursue for just to fuck.
Right.
So what is the reasoning? Yeah, I think it would be like, I see maybe a future here.
Yeah.
What if she gets in touch with him? She's like, thanks, guys. I'm engaged now.
This was 2012, but...
No, I'm trying to... Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I'm like,
right.
Why would he care so much
if it wasn't
to fix this? Like,
right.
It's just... And there is also the other element of like, he doesn't want to be seen as a dick. Like...
Yeah, which is possible.
Have you ever had this like late night miscommunication come over?
I'm sure I have. I'm trying to. Have you had?
I've only had delivery men show up at this hour.
At the same time.
See each other.
I thought I was your.
Hey, what's going on?
Someone gave me the key.
Chinese food, huh? Yeah. Don't look at the bagel guy. I thought you liked me. Yeah, no, I've never. I don't think I have anything like this.
This is a great story.
Great story. Great.
I love it.
Harken back to times of yore.
Times of yore. Yeah.
Riff
I'll have to
raff.
find that face paint story, give it to Candace, put on the Instagram.
Yeah, you got to find a
And then
picture.
you guys can vote if you think it's culturally
Shut it
appropriating
down!
someone. I definitely have a few of those.
Right.
What a time to be alive. All right, let's do another one.
Email.
Hey, J&J, long-time listener, first-time writer. I'm from Sydney, Australia. Jared, will see you soon.
G'day, mate.
Can't wait to
Put
get
another shrimp on the barbie.
Exactly.
That's me.
That's what they say all the time
I'm
there.
sure they're going to love me there.
She can't wait to get tickets to your show, she said.
Well, thank you.
I was listening to your latest episode, the funny TikTok song about someone's boyfriend breaking up with her after she moved to Texas. When you were discussing the situation, you guys mentioned that she maybe should have made sure he was serious about the relationship in terms of engagement and marriage before uplifting her life for him. Definitely agree with this, but as someone who doesn't really care about getting married and would still like to be in a long-term relationship, how can you know if they are long-term serious without engagement or marriage being on the cards? I'm not in this situation myself, but could see a time where it could happen in the future and thought it was an interesting topic and would love your thoughts and what you would do if you were in this girl's situation. Would have a mutual agreement of no marriage. Love you guys. Single but thinking about the future, Batch. I like this question.
It's a good question because that the TikTok song. If you go back and listen, this woman moved to Texas for her boyfriend, and she makes this great song about how they get there, they move in, and then he's like, "I'm not ready. We're not a good match," and they break up, and now she's living with her mom. Incompatible.
It's great. Men love that phrase.
Great word from him, even though they had like a 3-year relationship where they seemed to be okay.
Right, that's
perfectly compatible.
Just didn't click. No romantic connection.
Right. What do you think of this? So she's basically saying like, I don't want to get married. Right. So like, what am I supposed to kind of ask is kind of her thing.
I think that's a good question. I think you need to ask about the things that you want out of a long-term relationship. I do think the thing about marriage is like when people get married, that's the longest term relationship that you are committing to. That's why people get married. It's because like there is a stability to it. So if she doesn't want to get married, I do think there's a part of it that's like, is she looking for that? Like, why doesn't she want to get married? Is she not looking for someone that like feels like they're long-term, fully committed stability, like someone to say that too? Because I do think that's like part of the discussion. Like that's sort of like the whole point of marriage.
Right. Well, some of the point of marriage that doesn't get mentioned really is like, what else the fuck are we going to do? And that's kind of like
that's what she needs. I think she needs to figure out what that means to her.
Right. Well, I agree with. That's the point of this email is like, you can't ask someone else a question that you don't have an answer to.
Right.
Like that's why I don't like the what are we talk. Like, and usually people go into the what are we talk with like no like solid thought on that themselves.
Right. Like, what does that mean to her? Does she want? Right. Does she want? Hey, before I move to Texas, I want to know that you want to be together forever.
Right.
Like, I mean, is that what I'm saying? Is that like what is it? What does she actually want? Is it I want to be together? Just before we move to Texas, I want you to know, like, I'm looking to have kids in the next 4 to 5 years. Like, are you on board for? Like, is that something that you're looking for with me? Before I move to Texas, I'm looking. I just want to make sure that you're coming to my sister's wedding next June. Because like, what is that? I think she needs to make clear what her expectations are, even if they're not marriage.
There's a specific word to everything you're saying: tangible. Like, you got to get out of the romantic. Like, everything's gonna be great because love conquers all, and then you got to move into the logical and tangible.
Right.
Like you said, I have a sister's wedding in a year. Am I going to move with you to Texas?
Will we be together?
Well, do you plan on being with me, when my sister's wedding comes? And I think for someone who's like, well, when you say I'm not looking to get married in my future, I think like, first of all, that opinion might change. I don't think you should lock yourself into any corner but there are people that will probably be annoyed by me saying that because they're like,
not everyone wants
to get married and it becomes your team. But I would also say, like, how do you envision your life? Right.
But also people who don't want to get married, in my opinion, a lot of the time want the option of getting out of a relationship a little bit easier. So I think that like there is a sense, that's why she needs something tangible, because like if she's like, I'm not, like, that's a big part of it.
Well, that's the point, is like she's saying like, I want a long-term relationship, but I don't see marriage for me. Fine. What does a long-term relationship mean to you?
How long of a long-term relationship?
Does that mean I want to live with someone that we call each other partners? Does that mean, I want to buy a house with someone? Does that mean I want to, go on vacations together with someone? What does it mean? I need actual things. And, when you're choosing an alternative lifestyle, that is alternative. Like, whether you want to admit to it or not, you hate that society makes marriage so, whatever, like whatever your blog is, no one gives a fuck. You're living a different life than people are used to having, and people will take advantage of that. Like you said, like a guy might be more attracted to you because you don't want marriage.
Right.
Because it makes it easier. Oh, I'm not like stuck in this thing.
Right. She can move to Texas. She's not looking, it's not like wasting her time. She's not looking to get married anyway.
Right. Who cares? So you have to kind of create your own versions of marriage.
Right.
If
What
I'm
it
this
means to
person,
you.
like,
Yeah.
what does this mean to you? Okay, it means in 5 years I do want to have a kid with a partner, and I do want to live in the suburbs and live in a house and own a house together. Well, some people call that marriage,
Without
but
the-
you
right.
don't want that. That's okay.
Yeah.
But like, I think she writes in vaguely because it's a vague question, but I understand why she's asking it. Like,
Right. No, but I just think it is an interesting question because it's like, how do I make sure I get the security that I need while also foregoing like the ultimate security like label?
well,
Do you know
listen,
what I mean?
this is good advice for people who are like, I'm not ready to get. I didn't say I was wanting to get married right away.
Right.
Yeah,
what
what
do
are
you
your
want?
2-year goals? What are your 5-year goals? What are your 10-year goals? That's not sexy, but that's like what gets people to like put their name on something.
Right. Well, that's
Like
how you
that guy-
protect yourself.
Right,
Yeah.
protect yourself. Going to Texas. Well, in 2 years, do you see us like buying a house together? Like, what do you think about that?
Yeah.
I see us, but I see myself with a partner where I own a house together.
Right.
I see
Before
myself with a partner.
before I moved to Texas,
Right,
I just want to make sure we're aligned on what that future looks like.
right. And the only way for this person who's writing in, they're like, because they're even talking about a hypothetical boyfriend.
Right.
Like, you got to start. And listen, I will say this for me, Jared. I think a lot of my issues with committing is not having a solidified thought of what 10 years means for me.
What if someone else did? Would it be
They
like,
might be.
would that be a plus or a negative?
It would be something I would have to keep on my mind.
Mm-hmm.
It would become a thing I need to like. Okay, well, they want to be there in 5 years, and I'm now. That becomes my.
Yeah.
That's
what
now
you're
my
signing up for,
5 years.
right, yeah.
So that I'm for this person, like we're giving this advice,
And because you don't have your own timeline for that.
now it's
like-
like, do I want that?
Right. But you
My-
could also, but like if you had your own, let's say you were like, well, I actually want to be there in 10 years. Then you could say that. And then you're kind of like at the table.
Right, we're negotiating.
But
now.
instead, because you don't have like a timeline for that either, it's sort of like, I have to take yours or nothing.
or I end it.
Yeah. Right.
Right, but
Yeah.
and which is kind of the position people want to be. It seems like dump me or be in my plan.
That's not necessarily true. I think you could say like, dump me or we'll discuss like a plan that works for both of us.
Totally, but if you're not even making a plan,
That's the thing.
then you're
Well,
fine.
that's what I'm saying. If
Right.
you don't have any kind of plan, like I had those discussions with Mike. Like,
Mhm.
how long do you think people should like know? How long do you think people should date before they like know if they want to move in together? Before they know if they want to. This is what I think. What do
Right.
you think? We're apart on this, all right? Like, well, let's find something that works in the middle.
Right. It doesn't mean that it's going to end. It means that it's either negotiation or end.
Right.
You know, and
And if
I'm-
it's end, it was gonna end. I think anyway.
anyways,
Yeah.
and I think like if I was put to task in many of my relationships leading to this date of like, hey, what are you doing? You know, in 5 years, do you want to be in the suburbs? And I was like, oh, maybe. You know, like I'd get tongue tied, and then they'd be like, I want to be in the suburbs in 5 years, and then I'd go home and I'd be like, okay, do I see myself in the suburbs in 5? You know, like I start rethinking these things
Right.
in terms
Which is a
of
good
like,
thing.
which is a good thing, and even though that feels like a bad thing, because you're gonna get uncomfortable answers and you're gonna have uncomfortable conversations, but like that's the only way it works
Right.
out.
And it's not, and sometimes it is a good, sometimes the person's like, I want that too.
Right.
I'm also looking to get the hell out of here.
Right. And then people get let down because you told me you were ready in 5 years. Well, I tried this out and now I'm changing my mind. People change their minds.
Yeah, you
It's
can
not
change,
foolproof,
You
I'm
can
just
change.
saying.
Yeah, you can change your mind at any point, even if you said you were going to do something. But it should with a normal person make you think about it a lot more.
Right. Well, if you do change your mind, you have to update that person.
Right.
Because
That's the
if
other
you've
part.
talked about it,
Right.
the good thing about talking about it is like, oh, I have said to this person in 5 years, I'd like to be in the suburbs.
Right.
Now we're 2 years in and I'm like, I feel it breathing down my neck. I got to
Yeah.
talk to them. You know,
Well,
we
that's
have to
how these
update the
things go
terms
with,
of this
like,
contract.
that's how a lot of these engagement discussions go. I
Right.
think, you know.
So I think
TikTok.
what we're all talking, like, you know, when this person's asking, like, well, how do you make sure? What are your things? I don't know what your things are.
Mm.
You know, we don't know. Like,
I mean, either way, it's a risk. It's always a risk, right?
leaving the house is a risk.
Leaving the house is a risk. Moving for someone even if they'd say we're going to get married, we're going to get engaged next year, is still a risk.
Mm.
It's less of a risk if you like are super clear on your communication with them. It's still a
Listen.
risk, less of a risk with like being on with like confirming you're on the same page.
Right. This is why I think a lot of older, you know, women my age have issues where they're like, I'm 39, I'm dating a 30, you know, like guy dating a 39-year-old woman knows what she wants kind of already.
Right.
a lot of assumptions are being made, but the assumptions are usually right. You know, like,
Right.
so you go tick, 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 tick. You know, 3 months in, you go,
Which maybe that's
I
good,
got to make
though.
decisions. That's
Maybe
good.
they were
But I'm
like,
saying it's
yeah.
that's why, like, we talked about Hannah and Nick. Hannah had 2 people who wanted to get engaged to her. She's the youngest one on Love is Blind.
Mhm. Right.
There's a reason for that.
Yeah.
She kind of offers cushion.
Which is annoying.
It's annoying.
Right,
I'm
yeah.
not apologizing. I'm just saying the reality.
Right.
Let's
Yeah, no,
let's play some games.
Let's do it.
We'll be right back, and then we're gonna play some games. Let's do it.
All right.
We love a game.
These are great.
These are this week's red flag deal breakers. I gotta say, came through.
Top notch.
Dear J&J, I was thinking about my last relationship and would love to get your thoughts. About a year into the relationship, we were full steam ahead. He made comments like, I just told my friends I'd marry you tomorrow, and let's buy a house in the suburbs and join a country club. He consistently made it known that he was all in. I hate lines like that.
Same.
And maybe when you hear him in like, when you hear him
No
on a date and a
action.
couple martinis in, you go, oh,
I
he
told
wants
my-
a country club life.
I told my friends I'd marry you tomorrow. Like, show me the ring.
Cheesy.
Show me the ring.
Yeah, I'm a cat clock right now.
Yeah.
My eyes are rolling over and over. At the time, I was 30, renting an apartment with a roommate. He was 36, living alone in a studio he'd bought during the pandemic. We started talking about living together and looked at some 2-bedroom apartments. A few weeks later, he suddenly panicked. He said that I needed to move into his studio with him because he'd gotten a great price on it and never wanted to give it up. I was shocked. I told him I felt like it was a recipe for a disaster. We both worked from home and there would be zero separation in the 550 square foot apartment. This is such a move.
This is the worst kind of move.
This is the
I
move.
hate this guy.
Yeah.
I hate this guy. Because I know we
Move in with me.
We
It's a
know
closet.
exactly what he's doing.
Right.
She
He's-
probably knows on subconscious level what he's doing. And it's really fucking cowardly. I hate it.
He's smoking her out.
Yeah.
Not to mention it was
We can move into my parents' bedroom.
Right.
They had a great price.
And it's funny to think like, oh no, move in here instead. Well, we both work from home. There's one chair. No, you can work on the floor and I can work on the chair. And you have a cat too. How are we gonna do this?
And
like
2 dogs. Yeah.
Right. And it's funny, the more you talk it out, the more he's like, no. Oh, I guess we can't do that. You know, like,
You're not working with me here. Sorry.
not to mention it was full of his stuff. What else would it be full of? I'd already compromised on moving in before an engagement, and I didn't think it was fair. I'd have to get rid of most of my stuff, too. He cried, dramatically shoving things into a trash bag and saying he'd make the room. He also wasn't willing to lease it. There was no room for compromise. So red flag or deal breaker, was I being a diva? Would you have moved in if you felt like this person was the one? Thanks for all you do. Give me some space. P.S., in case you're wondering, turned out to be a deal breaker for him. A week after his
Not
panic.
shocked.
Yeah, not shocked at all. A week after his panic, he came to me and said, if you won't move in, we can't move forward. This ruined our momentum.
I'll say.
What a douchey thing this
Fucking
ruined our
asshole.
momentum. I hope he and his apartment are happy together. LOL. This is wild.
This guy used this apartment so that she would break up with him
Right.
so intensely that it's quite offensive.
It's so obvious that it's making me angry at her that it's not obvious to
Oh
her.
my God.
I'm
No,
sorry. No,
Here's
I
the thing,
feel
when
for
you're
her.
in it, you're
Right.
like here. But here's the other thing that this made me think of is like, it doesn't sound sexy, but relationships are a constant about constant negotiations,
Yes.
right? And who has more power in a negotiation? The person who doesn't care that much about the deal, right?
Right.
So the
right.
person usually when someone's lowering their price on a house, it's because they really want to sell the house.
Right.
This guy is like, you're moving in, and if you're not moving in, I can't do this. It's because he doesn't give a shit about this relationship,
Right. And the idea that he won't lease it.
which is also
Like,
even
which
if you
is like
got it's a great solution.
Right. It's a great solution. And also like lease it and then give it a shot. Like, let's live together. That wouldn't be how I would do it. I've done that before.
Right.
I've gone down that road and didn't work out for me, and I probably wouldn't do it again. But like, that was a negotiation for me.
Yeah.
You know, like I am happy I lived and learned. You know, the idea
Why
that
wouldn't you do it again? Because
I wouldn't move in with someone I wasn't excited and running down the
right. Well, that's more about that than
right. But that's what I'm
yeah.
telling him to do.
Right.
But this
very
guy's
cowardly.
Yeah, this guy's taken the
He's
side door.
He's made himself the victim.
Right. Oh, but I have this apartment and it's too small. And if you won't move in, then we can't work out. It's like a little bit
Right.
my way or the highway, but like I know that you're not going to ever come my way.
Right.
And
So
now
then
she's
you're-
still questioning
I'm
it.
making
She's
you
like, "Am
break
I
up
being a
with me."
diva?"
Right.
Like, it's like, are you
He's
being a
gaslighting
diva?
her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you being a diva for not wanting to move into a 550 square foot apartment
When
where
you both
work
from home.
Right.
He doesn't. That's the annoying thing. Is like he doesn't want that either.
Right. He's willing to risk. It's
I
not,
would have called his bluff.
I'm moving in.
I'm moving in, and we're getting a dog.
Right. Get the ring ready.
Yeah.
We're getting engaged. Well, even the way she's talking, she's like, I already made a compromise that I would move in before we got engaged. That is a guy who doesn't want to get engaged to you.
Right.
Like, even he was like, well, move in before you get engaged. Fuck, she's willing to talk about this? Okay, move into my trash bag that I live in. You know, like,
How far can you go?
right.
Which again is
he
like
kept going down
it's not
the list.
respectful.
No,
think.
and it's, as you said, cowardly. And
Yes. All right, let's do another one.
deal breaker.
Hi, J&J. Love the pod. You've helped me so much navigating dating in my 20s. I have a red flag or deal breaker for you. I, 26 female, have been going on dates with a 26-year-old male. On our date last night, he told me that he's fat phobic. He referred to himself as fat phobic. Interesting. He told me that he's...
It's so bizarre.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like saying I'm racist.
Right.
Right?
Deal with it.
Just so you know.
Right. It's like
On our date last night, he told me that he's fat phobic and was nervous to tell me because of my line of work. I'm an eating disorders therapist.
it's as if like the waitress came by and he was like, "Ah, sorry, I have to tell you, I'm fat phobic." Like, how does that even come up? Right.
Yeah. He said he could never understand how people let themselves get that way. I tried to bring up the other poll and point out that even his language is perpetuating his bias by assuming weight is 100% someone's choice as opposed to a combination of genetics and a variety of other things. He proceeded to tell me how the tipping point for him was when he worked at Red Lobster. He would see quote unquote fat people come in and dip their fingers in the butter, and that it would be better if they were quote unquote rolled out of there. He also let me know that his ex-girlfriend gained weight while they were dating and he stopped being attracted to her. I couldn't get past these comments, fair, and the fear that he would ultimately judge the way I look if he hadn't already. So this was a deal breaker for me. What do you think? Can this man's weight bias be changed? Sincerely, a totally turned off bitch.
I don't know if I'm gonna sound right about this.
Let's hear it.
But in this, I don't think I'm not taking like an opposite opinion of like this guy's a dick, but it's just kind of like this type of person that like turns these like kind of buzzy words like fat phobic to me is like
You think he's like almost trolling her?
no, it's like he's trying to tell her his religion almost like he's like
hating fat people.
well, it's like it's part of a whole like mindset like
Okay.
that he's like work hard and you know it's like this like alpha male type of bullshit
Okay.
that like is from he's heard from other people and then he uses a word that he knows is like an offensive like a triggering
Okay.
word for people
try
and
to
you're on
show
a
you
date
how
and
he
he's
is.
you know like I just don't understand going on a date and being like, hey, before we get started here, I know you're a dietitian, but I'm fat phobic. Like it's just a weird way to talk to someone like that. Like I don't even again, I don't know. The only reason I say I don't know how wrong I sound. Like to me, it's not about the fat phobic
Right.
thing.
Even
It's-
if he had these opinions like in his head and didn't say them, like it would be bad still, but it would be different than the way he's like decided to tell her and say all those things.
It's the way, yeah. The way he's telling her is like so fucking loser. Like it's
Right.
like you like it's so self-conscious. It's so like let me tell you who I am before you learn who I am. Like you know because like what is
On a second date, yeah.
on a right? Is that a second date?
I
I've been
think
going
so.
on dates with this.
Oh, maybe not.
On
second
our
date.
last night, on our date last night. So they've been going on dates, multiple
Okay.
dates.
Yeah.
Like again, if they've been on a bunch of dates, like it seems like she didn't get this from you already. Like
Right.
you know and again, like this goes back to the negotiation thing. Like you know, if your opinions on healthcare, on you know being well, we're not a healthy country, and I don't know if my tax stuff, like, you know what I mean? Like, it can go in a direction that is not you saying words that are, like, purposely, like, dickish.
Right.
Do you know? I don't know.
I see what you're like. You could have opinions that maybe aren't the norm without expressing them this way.
Right. Right.
in a way that's like
I can
a more respectful, normal way.
right, saying you're fat phobic, which I think is stupid.
Right. Self-labeling yourself that immediately.
Right, that's you putting a line in the sand. This is who I am, and you either agree with it or you don't. There's
Right.
no negotiation in it.
Right. And I have no concept of like what's appropriate to say or why that would be, these comments would be offensive.
Right, the roll out of here, all that's
Yeah.
bullshit. Like I hate it. Like,
Yeah.
and it's just
I think
this is a brand
this is
of
his
person.
personality type.
Right, this is to me. It's like I'm trying to get away from this specific. Like, if someone said that to me on a date, I'd be like, well, I'm out. Like, fuck
Right.
you. But I just think this brand of person exists now, and
someone who's trying to tell you who they are.
right.
Yeah.
And to me, it's more on the internet that I see it.
Well, she got one. She caught one in real life.
Found one. Right.
And I get why she's annoyed because they probably, let's say they've been on like 5 dates. She's like, oh, this was going so well, and now you're like this awful, horrible person. Like, that's so weird.
Right. How did this happen? Like, are you trying to turn me off? Like, are
Right.
you trying to get away from me? Like,
right. Why not? If you actually liked me, why say it in this way?
right.
If you actually cared about my opinion of you, again, even if you like thought that, why would you say it in that way, knowing that like I would be offended by this?
Right. Why?
No
are you-
tact. Tactless.
So you must be trying to weaponize language to make me push me away.
Perhaps.
Like this
yeah.
feels weaponized.
Right.
Yeah. Let's
especially
just like
given on this like however many dates in.
right. And knowing what she does. And like she's right. Like even like using those words like who's to say who's trying and not trying? Like
Right.
fuck
This guy
off.
sucks. Yeah. Deal breaker.
Deal breaker.
All right.
All right. So we have a celebrity red flag deal breaker.
Yes.
Are you ready?
Let's see it.
Straight from the headlines, ripped from the headlines, as they say on Law and Order SVU. Okay. Olivia Rodrigo has a new documentary. How old is Olivia Rodrigo to have a documentary?
Like she's 21, right?
21?
Is she 21?
So there are these, well, right now there's like a lot of documentaries being made by the person.
It's like a.
They're about,
Philip
it's an
Seymour
autobiography.
Hoffman making his own Eat True Hollywood story.
Who is this?
Philip Seymour Hoffman
Yeah.
making his own. In Along Came Polly.
Right. This is kind of what's happening. There used to be the autobiography, and now like that were like
The memoir.
the
Yeah,
memoir,
yeah,
so to speak.
right,
Right.
yeah.
Right. So they do, so Taylor Swift kind of like started this trend of
I
like
cannot think of anything I'd want to do less than watch a concert on TV.
I'm not a concert person. I guess like if you went to the concert and see how it was made.
I guess
I
if
don't
it's
know.
like more behind, I'm like, why do I want to watch a thing? Why don't I just play it on Spotify? The songs.
Right. And like where's this going? Is there like are we like what's the challenge here? Is it
I don't get it.
we have to do the New York show? Like I don't know.
Right. It doesn't make sense to me. I'm not,
Okay.
anyway.
So but we do get I
I didn't watch the documentary in case you're wondering.
Right. We do get a taste of Olivia Rodrigo, okay?
Yes.
And this is something she says on the documentary. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
The biggest red flag, okay, this is a very oddly specific question that I ask guys on first dates. Do you think Olivia Rodrigo is going on first dates?
Yeah. With like other celebrity people.
Really?
Yeah, I think people take her out. Don't
Okay.
they?
I just can't
Not like
imagine
from
how do they-
Hinge, but like, you know.
She's just out there.
I'm sure like other famous people, like they go on dates.
Is she at the Tippler? Having a drink? I always ask them if they think they would want to go to space. And if they say yes, I don't date them. I just think if you want to go to space, you're a little bit full of yourself, and I think it's just weird. What do you think? Red flag or deal breaker? You're on a date with someone who says they want to go to space.
You know, I respect that she feels so confident
Mhm.
in this feeling. I could see where the association would come from a little bit, just because I think of like all the billionaires who want to go to space, and that's probably who
Right.
she's dating. Like I think of like Jeff Bezos wants to go, like is trying to go to space, and he's like sort of like a crazy. I think she's dating like crazy, wealthy, famous people. And maybe in that world,
Right.
those are like,
That's like a thing.
they're like, I have so much money, I want to do something no one else can do, so I want to go to space.
Here's the thing. If someone brought it, I'm with you. I don't think it's that indicative of the type of person they are.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm asked, would you want to go to space? I would have more questions to that. I'd be like, is there like a commercial flight?
Right.
Do people go to space often?
What are the conditions?
Right. And then I would go,
there a Four
yeah, if I could,
Seasons?
yes. Do they have multiple delivery services that I can order from at the same time?
I can get there at 4 a.m.
Right. Do they do a late night food menu? Of course I would want to go to
Hypothetically,
space.
yes.
Like, it's one of those things that like I think you're taking a lot from like the cockiness angle. Like, oh, I want to become a billionaire and force people to take me to space is different. I don't know. The way
Right.
she's presented this, I don't think is kind of fraudulent.
That's why I think it's like shadily out of touch, because I
Yeah.
do think the people that she's probably dating, like think of who's going on a
Right.
first date with Olivia Rodrigo, probably someone who maybe could be going to space. Like for us, it's so hypothetical that it's
Right.
like, yeah, if someone asked me, I'd be like, yeah, if like
Go to
if
space?
the, you know, like if it was safe, and
Right.
sure, like
I can see space.
right.
Like
But
in
if
my
I-
lifetime, my grandmother thought she'd never see
Right.
Italy. Like
if-
she went to Italy. Like, oh, if the technology's there,
Yeah,
I
but
am with you.
if she's on a first date with Bill Gates and he's like,
Right.
yeah, I was thinking, you know, like I'm just kind of bored with the private jet lifestyle, and I just want to like, you know what I mean, do the next level thing. Like I could see where that
Well,
would be.
it's more likely she's on a date with the son of a billionaire who's done nothing.
Right.
Who then says, I want to go to space, which
because
is
they have nothing else to do. Yes.
right. And they didn't create this space moment via their own hardworking money
Mm-hmm.
that they've created. So I can understand when you're talking to someone who's like, you know, I'm an entrepreneur and I'm an investor. And you're
Right.
like, well, you're a fucking waiter
son
because you're
of
waiting
an-
for your dad to die,
Exactly.
you know? So then
Yes.
you're like, and then they're like, I want to go to space. It sounds, I can understand how that
Douchier
person
way,
is
right.
douchier.
Because they
than-
actually maybe could go to space.
Right. If I went to space, it would be because I became one of the greatest comedians alive.
Right.
And then suddenly was given this opportunity that I all like, you know, worked my way up to make happen.
Yes.
21-year-old Olivia Rodrigo is out with like the Duke of fucking Madrid.
Right.
And
who's
he's
like
maybe I'll go to
actually
space.
who's actually working on like a space mission.
Right.
maybe.
He's
Yeah, right.
invested
Yes.
someone
Yeah.
else's money.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I'm
And
a, you know, I'm
So
a,
given that scenario, I would agree with her that it might be a deal breaker.
Right.
If it was normies like you and me,
right.
I
if it-
think it's a fine comment to want
Right,
to
right, totally. Like this podcast, Olivia Rodrigo should be listening.
Yes.
Everything is in nuance and context, and that's what it's all about. So,
And just so you guys know, next week we're going to have a whole episode on cuffing season, so make sure you tune in.
yeah, and if you have any questions about cuffing season, things on your mind, questions,
Send it
comments,
in.
concerns, stories, send it in. uup@betches.com. We solved dating again, Jordana.
We did it. I'm proud of us.
A fun one, as always. If you're out there, keep telling your friends. And, you know, I think during these crazy times that we're living in,
You need us.
you need us. We don't know what the world is today. We're taping this a week ahead. The election's today. I bring this up at the end specifically.
Yes.
Like, you know, whatever you're going
In
through.
case you're wondering why we haven't commented when,
Right, 'cause
you know, the world's in shambles,
right,
or
you
not.
or not.
Or not.
Or it's everything's A-okay and that's okay. But this is a podcast that's meant to give you a diversion from the everyday horrors of your own life. And we hope we can do that for you.
Yes.
So,
Well,
back next week or on Friday.
We'll be back on Friday. Bye.
The U Up podcast is produced by Belle Roman and Candace Maniga. Edited by Belle Roman. Social media by Candace Maniga. Guest booking by Ali Friedlander. VP of podcast is Chris Allen. And be sure to follow You Up at u.up.podcast.